All right, welcome everybody to the info session for Australia New Zealand Study Abroad program for this winter 2024 program. My name is Megan and I work at Green River College to help coordinate this program. And I'm happy to introduce to you our two lead faculty who will be running the program this winter, and that's Bruce Hallman and Patrick Millian. If you guys want to say hello.
Hi guys, it's good to have you here.
And Patrick, oh, you have to unmute.
God, it's amateur hour over here. Jeez. So, hello, everyone. It's great to meet you. Great to be here with you.
So Bruce will be teaching History of Australia and New Zealand course on the program, and Patrick will teach Intro to Poetry, which is a common course number across all of our community colleges. So that'll cover our English and our history, and then there will be a biology class taught by local professors in Australia and New Zealand. But I'll let Bruce kind of get us started with a nice overview of the program.
Sure, let me just give you a little background on the program and then how the program works. And then Patrick and I can talk you through the classes and then see if you have any questions. So we started the program in 2001, so it's been going on for 23 years. We missed a couple of years because of COVID, like lots of things did. But essentially, after the first 4 years, we were just in Australia initially, and then it's sort of we're slow learners. It sort of took us a while to realize, well, we're halfway around the world. We're in Australia. New Zealand's not that far away. Why don't we expand this program and make it 2 countries rather than just one? And it's one of the few study abroad programs that do 2 countries. Most study abroad programs focus on just one. This one, you get to experience both Australia and New Zealand. And although they're similar in many ways, they're also very, very different. Essentially what we do, the way the program runs, is we'll do about a week online here at home before we head to Australia. And that week will really introduce you to the 3 courses you're doing and do some background work to get you ready so that when we land in Australia, we can hit the ground running, if you will, and make the most of the time that you're there. So we're in Australia for a month, essentially, a little more than 3 weeks in classes. And then about 6 days to travel independently. So the idea is we'll be in Melbourne, Australia. And the idea is to get you out of Melbourne. It's like visiting the United States and coming to Seattle. You'll have experienced the United States, but the United States is a lot more than just Seattle. And Australia is a lot more than just Melbourne. And so you have a week to travel. A lot of students like to go to Sydney, which is the Opera House in the photo behind me. Also up to the Great Barrier Reef. Some students like to go out to the Red Centre, to the desert, to Uluru and places like that. So you've got some choices, and we'll help you sort of arrange your travel while you're in Australia. And then we head to New Zealand, and we're in Auckland. We're there for about 3 weeks in classes, and then you have a week to travel. We come back in early March, back to the United States, and then we'll have about a week and a half of online classes to be able to do some reflection, to put together and do the comparative kinds of things that you'll have experienced in Australia and New Zealand and what you've experienced here at home. So the program runs winter quarter, but essentially we're a week here online, then we're a month in Australia, a month in New Zealand, and then about a week and a half here, sort of debriefing and putting it together. So that's sort of the outline of the program. Let me talk a little bit about housing, and then we'll jump into the courses. One of the things I love about this program is that you'll get both a dorm experience and an apartment experience. So when we're in Melbourne, we're at Newman College, which is a residential college as part of the University of Melbourne. So it's very much an English model, kind of like Oxford and Cambridge, where they have residential colleges. And there you'll have a dorm room, there's a dining hall, there's an academic center. You're in a cloistered kind of environment where you walk out the gate and you're on Swanson Street, you walk 2 blocks and there's a tram stop that will take you any place you want to go in Melbourne. And also you walk out the back gate and you're on the University of Melbourne campus. So it's a very convenient kind of place to be. And you'll have that dorm experience. There's essentially most of the dorms have 8 rooms on the floor, shared central baths and showers and toilets and that kind of thing. So you'll very much get that dorm experience. When we go to New Zealand, we're living in off-campus serviced apartments. So you'll basically be in an apartment with 2 or 3 other students. You'll have your own kitchen, and you'll be basically doing your own cooking. Hopefully you're a good cook, or you get a roommate that's a good cook. But essentially, you'll get that apartment experience. In New Zealand, we're about a 5-minute walk from campus. So it's very easy to get to campus. We're very close to a train station that can get you downtown in Auckland very easily. And then we're just a block away from what's called the Mount Albert Shops, which is kind of a shopping area where there's lots of small shops and restaurants and cafes and that kind of thing. So again, a very different experience in Melbourne, but also an interesting experience in that sense. So that's a little bit about the program. In terms of the courses, you'll do 3 classes. The class that you'll do that's taught by Australian and New Zealand faculty is the biology of Australia and New Zealand. And it's really more a natural history and environmental studies kind of approach. And so you'll be looking primarily at the plants, the animals, the ecosystems that make up Australia and New Zealand. And to me, that's one of the most fascinating parts of this class. It's taught by local faculty in Australia and New Zealand. But what you do is you see, you'll experience 3 radically different ecosystems. You know the United States, you know the Pacific Northwest, you know that we have a unique ecosystem here. But when you get to Australia, it's a much drier environment. It's an environment that's dominated by marsupials, by pre-Gondwanan plants. And so it's just a fascinating sort of difference from the Pacific Northwest. And then when we get to New Zealand, it's equally as different. New Zealand separated from Australia before mammals developed. So there were really only 2 native or endemic animals in New Zealand, mammals. The rest are birds. And so birds operate and live in every ecosystem and occupy every ecological niche. But New Zealand's small, it's an island. Australia's an island, but it's a big island. New Zealand's a small island. So like island biogeography all over the world, it has limits. There's not as many species, there's not as many subspecies because it is an island. Whereas Australia, the United States, much bigger ecosystems. So you'll really experience that kind of exposure to 3 very different kinds of ecological environments. And that's why we do the week sort of reflection when we get back, is to sort of put that all together and reflect back on, yeah, these are similar, these are differences. And that's why it's important to understand what you've experienced. Patrick, maybe you can talk a little bit about the poetry class.
Sure. So the class that I'll be offering is called English 113. And so it is a common course number. It's the same 113 no matter what community college you go to. And it's listed as Introduction to Poetry, and that's exactly what it is. So if you have never read a poem in your life, like the class is a good fit for you. Or if you've like read poetry and then thought it was really confusing, the class is a good fit for you too. Or if you absolutely love poetry, like it is for everyone, no matter what your relationship to the art form is. The specific focus of this Intro to Poetry class, though, is First Nations poetry. So when we're in Australia, we'll be reading Aboriginal Australian works, and when we're in New Zealand, we'll be focusing on Maori works. So these are the indigenous native peoples of these countries. And so there's a long history that the poetry really speaks to, and an incredibly rich culture that the poetry will be a way into understanding. And I will do my best. No, it'll happen. I won't just be trying. It'll actually work. But I always treat poetry as something that's alive, something that is currently happening. Maybe you've taken classes where the poetry is written by, men that died hundreds of years ago. And as important as Shakespeare is, like, poetry is still alive today. So we'll encounter poetry that's being written by living, working people. We'll check out hip hop collectives. We'll check out multimedia poetry experiments. Hopefully, since we'll be in such big, vibrant cities, we'll get out to a poetry reading and hear local poets sharing their work out loud. So I hope, I think poetry is a little divisive, right? Like, some people either love it or hate it, but I hope no matter what your relationship is to it, like, this class can sort of show that it's a way into, like, a very alive and very diverse and vibrant community. So yeah, you'll get to read, you'll get to write, but you'll also just get to, like, immerse yourself in these experiences.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Pat. I'm very excited to sit in on that course and be part of it, because it is fascinating, and both indigenous populations and cultures in Australia and New Zealand are very much alive and very active, and yet also very different. And that's a little bit of what we'll focus on in the history course. I'll make the assumption that you've had American history probably in grade school and middle school and then high school, and some of you have had history courses in college. So you'll know a bit about American history, and it's really fascinating, like Patrick said, to sort of compare the indigenous experience in America with the Aboriginal experience in Australia and the Maori experience in New Zealand, and to realize that you've got three countries that are similar in the sense that they're British settler societies. So they come out of a British sort of constitutional parliamentary sort of background, and yet they have developed very differently. They have very different policies toward Aboriginal and Indigenous people. They have very different political histories, and yet at the same time, they've gone through many of the same kinds of things that we have here in the United States. Essentially, Europeans have expanded across the continents of Australia, and New Zealanders are now seeing themselves as a continent called Zinlandia. It's actually, much of it's underwater, but it's as big, almost as big as Australia. So it's fascinating to think about three continents with three very different sort of histories, and yet also very common sort of elements to those histories. And so that's what we'll explore in the history class. And I think it will help reinforce what Patrick's doing with the poetry class and what you're learning in the biology class. And again, that's one of the things I love about this program. It's very focused on being in Australia and being in New Zealand and sort of studying those cultures and those environments and those people that you're interacting with when you're in Australia and New Zealand. So that's sort of a general sort of overview. Megan, anything else you think we should touch on?
I think it would be great to hear what questions anybody has in the room.
Yeah, I saw on the Bellevue College and the Green River kind of have different course descriptions. Like on the Bellevue College description, I didn't see English under that. Is it different per what school you're going in through, or is it a choice, or are they just like labeled differently?
Most likely, well, Last year we offered cultural anthropology, and this year we're replacing that course with the English class. So it's possible
Gotcha.
that wasn't updated yet. But the course description may vary slightly by the college campus for sure. Especially the history and biology, they may call it something different, but the English one should be the same or very similar. It should say English Intro to Poetry.
Gotcha. Yeah, it still says cultural anthropology on the Bellevue College one. That's not an issue for me, but yeah, just good to clarify that.
Yeah, so probably just needs to be updated.
Good to know.
And that's another, you bring that, that's another, Matt, that's another sort of interesting part of the program is as students, you'll be working together in the same 3 courses, and all 3 courses focus on Australia and New Zealand. So there's a lot of what I would call cross-learning going on. There's a lot of interchange that takes place between all 3 courses. And that's part of what we'll have you be doing. But also part of what we do when we get back is once you've been there, once you've come back home, once you've had a couple days break, then we get back together and sort of like, how do you put this all together? How do you make sense out of it? And that's really, to me, a very powerful part of the learning of being in Australia and New Zealand, is having time to reflect back on it and sort of say, okay, I see, because when you're in the midst of it, it's often feel like, wow, we're just doing so much, because we do a lot. You know, we're not in the classroom a whole lot. We're out in the field a whole lot for the biology class, you know, for art galleries, for museums, for field trips. And so it's not like being here where you're in the class every day, day after day. We're in the classroom some, but we're out in the field a lot. And so in the midst of that, taking time to step back and say, okay, what am I seeing? How does it fit together? That's why when we get back, we spend a significant amount of time, a week and a half, sort of allowing that reflection to take place. Katie, is the question?
Hi, so my question is, actually I have 2 questions. But the first one is, what will happen with like our assignments and our schooling during our independent travel periods?
Good question. Yeah, it's sort of on hold. What we try and do is we basically try and have you complete your Australia assignments before you go traveling in Australia, so you don't have these things hanging over your head. Oh my God, I've got to get this paper into Matt and I don't have time to do it, right? Or any of the courses. And then the same thing in New Zealand. So basically we try and set up the travel weeks. So you're sort of done with your assignments, you're off traveling, you can sort of, you get to know the country in a very different way. And then when we come back and we go to New Zealand, it's just like Australia, you hit the ground running. It's very intense. Then you have a break to get out and see other parts of the country. And then when we come home, we take a couple days break, a long weekend basically, and then back online, and we start that sort of reflection process. So does that help, Katie?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much. And then my second one was, my Cascadia College study abroad advisor said that there would be flight suggestions coming out for when we should book and like recommended flights.
Sure.
Is there like a time period where those would be out?
Megan can answer that. Essentially what we'll do is we'll give you some options. What I'll do is I'll book my flight relatively soon here, you know, probably by late September. And then we'll let you know what flight. My wife Pam and I go down together. Patrick, we'll talk, but hopefully Patrick and Pam and I are all on the same flight. And then you have the option of doing that. But you also have the option of doing some less expensive flights. And there again, that's part of becoming an experienced traveler. This is getting online and looking at the websites, the various booking sites. And sometimes you can get a great deal if you fly through Guangzhou, or if you fly through Singapore, or if you fly to Fiji and spend a day. You know, again, it's that sort of becoming an experienced traveler. You know, and so essentially that's the way I think it'll work. Megan, you want to add to that?
Sure, yeah. So depending what students are comfortable with, we will publish what flight the faculty will be on. by the payment deadline. So that will be November 13th, around there. And we do ask that students book their flights by December 1st. At least, that's 5 weeks out from departure or so. And we also have a partnership with a company called Flight Sugar, and they essentially offer some discounted flights for students only. So once you're enrolled in the program, we can get you a user ID to log into Flight Sugar, and you can then do some comparison shopping and see if they're offering a better deal, or if you just want to go with whatever you find on Kayak or United or whatever. But certainly we can put together and put out very soon a list of routings that students went on last year. So some of them, typically you would fly, down to California and then over to New Zealand and then Australia. But some students did stop in Fiji on the way, so fly Air New Zealand or Fiji Airways. So we can put together the list, but the most important thing is the date of arrival in each country. And we do definitely want as many students as possible to take the same flight from Melbourne to Auckland. So we'll make sure to put that one out there as soon as possible, because we want you all to be able to use the same group transportation to get between countries at the same time together.
Great.
Matt is asking in the chat, what are exact dates for arrivals? Oh, are they set yet? The exact dates for arrival, departure? Bruce, we're pretty close on that, right?
Yeah, I think we'll get back to you with that, Matt. But yeah, I think we're leaving Seattle on the 12th of January, if I'm correct. And then we fly to New Zealand on the 7th of February, I believe. And we come back to Seattle on the 2nd of March. And this is one of those weird things that with the international dateline, you leave Seattle on a Thursday, say, or a Tuesday, and you don't arrive into New Zealand until a Thursday. You lose a day because you go across the international dateline. Coming back from Auckland, you often arrive back in Seattle before you left Auckland, because you essentially gain a day coming back. So a lot of times we'll leave Auckland at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and we'll get back in Seattle at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the same day we left. And it's just the vagaries of the international dateline. But also, as you're booking, important to keep track that you do lose a day going down and you gain a day coming back, so that you don't arrive, a day later or a day earlier than you think you're going to arrive. So the key thing is when you arrive in Australia and when you leave New Zealand, and then the flight from Melbourne to Auckland. Those are the three really important dates, and we'll get those to you. Does that help?
I just put it in the chat, actually. I think our dates that we've got on paper right now are January 10th, leaving Seattle.
That's right.
February 8th, flying from Melbourne to Auckland, and March 7th, returning home from Auckland.
That's right. My apologies. I was thinking, yeah, the 12th is when we arrive in New Zealand, yes, right. I mean, in Australia. And then the 1st of March is when you go on your travel break. So my apologies. Yeah, thanks, Megan. Keeping me straight there, right? But again, it's worth getting online. And it's also looking, if your parents or relatives have air miles, it's worth looking at that. Sometimes you can get great deals using air miles. So again, it's part of becoming an experienced traveler, is just to explore what options you have. And there's lots of options. Good. Any other sort of questions that I could help with?
I have a few more. I'm not sure if these might be a lot more specific to me. I've recently committed or done the AmeriCorps programs, and you get an education award through those. I'm not sure if you guys have had people pay with their education awards through this specific program before. That's a link to it if you wanted to see it more closely. But I assume or from what I've talked to with my Bellevue College Point person, is that you just pay through your regular tuition through your own school, so I'd pay it through Bellevue College, and then all the rest of the program fees through Green River. Are there any other details that go into like paying with a scholarship award or education award?
I'm familiar with the AmeriCorps award. I used it myself several years ago. I don't remember the logistics of how it worked, but so yeah, essentially you pay your tuition to your home college. So ideally, I would advise you to put most of your education award towards that tuition because that'd probably be the easiest way to do it. And then the program fee gets paid separately to Green River College. We could talk offline about your specific case if you want to, like if we want to talk details about how much it adds up to and if there would be any balance remaining that needs to be allocated, if we can work on that.
Yeah, that would be good. I have, I think more money than what the estimated cost for both the tuition and the program fee is. I've done several months of AmeriCorps program, so I think it should be able to cover the bulk of it. I think it's like $11,000 or something like that. So I think that should be able to cover tuition and at least $6,000 or $7,000 of the program fee, if I read the estimates correctly.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. So yeah, let's talk and look more specifically about logistics of how those payments get made.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
You had
Um,
any other questions, Matt?
and then my other one was, I was curious how much you like have seen students in the past interact with, I guess, like local Australian people that much, or is it more like, oh, we go out and we do the field trip, but it's like fairly guided, or do you see a lot of students like making friends or connections with people in the area, or it just depends on like how much they go out, or is that kind of like a natural part of the program, is just like you meet a lot of people there?
Yeah, I mean, you'll get to meet a lot of Australians and Kiwis, and both at Newman we're there during the summer term, and so there's students on campus and there's students at Newman College where our living arrangements are, but it's a smaller number. But you'll go out into the neighborhoods, you go to coffee shops, you'll go out in the evening. On some of the field trips, you'll meet lots of Australians and Kiwis. In New Zealand, we arrived just about a week before orientation for term 1. So in Australia, New Zealand, what we call fall, school begins in the fall for us and runs to June. In Australia, New Zealand, school begins in February and runs through December. So their first term begins in New Zealand right as we arrive, and so you'll go through orientation at Unitec, the university we're at in New Zealand, and you'll be on campus, so you'll get to meet a lot of Kiwis, and it's easier because you're right on campus. You're part of the orientation. And than it is in Australia. There's opportunities in Australia, but because it's the middle of summer term, there's just not as many opportunities. But lots if you go out into the community. You go out in the evening, you go to a pub, you go out and get gelato on Lygon Street. You have an opportunity to meet lots of folks. And what I find too is you'll develop an incredible intense friendships with the people you're in the program with. It's one of the great things about study abroad is you're basically living 7/24 with a group of students and with Patrick and me. And you see each other every day, and that's one of the great things about it. You will develop some lifelong friendships out of a program like this.
Nice. And on that topic, is there like a confirmed number of people who have like applied, or do we know like a rough number of people who are going in this group so far?
It's early in the recruiting season for this program. So at the moment, we've only received 3 applications, and our minimum number to run the program is 16 students. So if we were to fall short of that number, unfortunately, we would have to look at canceling the program. But I'd say we're on a pretty good trajectory given the level of interest we're getting right now, and that we still have 2 months until the application deadline. So I feel pretty good. But I'd say like 20 might be our normal average, Bruce.
Yeah, it's we generally take somewhere between 20 and 30 students every year. You know, one year we had 36, which was a big number. But most of the time we've got somewhere between, 22, 24, 26 in that range. That's really typical. Some years we've taken 16, 17. It varies from year to year, but we're like Megan said, we're pretty much on track for having sort of that 20 to 25 students, maybe 26, 27. So again, it's a little early in the process, but as we get into September, late August and September, you'll see much more activity. And then as we get closer to the deadline, it's like most things, people make all their plans and then they wait till the day before and they apply. So, but yeah, so I'm expecting we'll have 20, 25 students this year. We're right on line for doing that.
Sounds good. So usually around that, I guess, October deadline, you guys send out like an email or something that confirms like, all right, we have enough people, and then everyone can like start booking and it's guaranteed that the program will happen pretty much.
Exactly. Right. Yep.
Sounds good.
Good. All right. Micah, do you have any questions? Katie?
No, all my questions have been answered. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, sure. Micah, how about you?
I think I also have a question about payment. So like I have a scholarship that specifically goes into my college account. So if I'm understanding it, like I could use that to pay for tuition, but I couldn't use that to pay for like the program fees and stuff.
Most likely, yes. So that's typically how it works. But if you really had, a strong excess of that scholarship, and if it is eligible to be put towards program fees, like a study abroad program fee, you might consider enrolling at Green River College just for the winter term only, so that you would, is that scholarship a South Seattle college or is it external? Or Seattle Central?
It's like it's an external scholarship, but they said it can only go into like a college account. Like I can't just take the funds out and use it
Sure.
for what I want to use it for.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that could be a case where you might want to consider the idea of registering at Green River as a Green River student just for winter quarter. And that way, maybe the scholarship could be applied towards the program fees. So typically any scholarship or any financial aid is going to first get applied to a tuition charge. And then any excess, if it's eligible, could be put towards the program fees. But it depends on the parameters of your aid or your award, what it can be used for.
Okay, thank you. Also, I was just wondering, in Australia, are dorm rooms shared with other people?
Yeah, in Australia, you'll have a single dorm room. So you'll have a room by yourself. It's on a floor with 8 other students. So essentially the floor has 4 rooms on one side, 4 rooms on the other, and then the central sort of pillar of the building has the toilets and showers. But you'll have your own dorm room, you'll have internet connections, all that kind of stuff. The dorm rooms have a sink in the dorm room itself, desk, bed, closet, chairs, that kind of thing. So pretty much a typical dorm room. In New Zealand, you'll be in an apartment, either a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and there'll be anywhere from 2 to 4 people, 4 people in a 2 bedroom apartment, 2 or 3 people in a 1 bedroom apartment. So, but again, you have a kitchen, you have your own sort of a bathroom, toilet, shower kind of facility, that kind of thing in the room. So again, it's a very typical kind of apartment versus a dorm in Australia. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Bruce, I could actually show some pictures on my screen if anybody wants to see
Sure.
those spaces look like. So this is the dorms at Newman College. There's this, obviously these are furnished with people's own decorations, so you may not bring as many colorful decorations yourself, but there's an example of the space and different ways it could look with your desk and your bed. So I think it's pretty spacious for a single dormitory.
Right.
And then if you guys want to keep chatting, I can also look to pull up the New Zealand accommodation photos.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you'll get spoiled in New Zealand because we're in serviced apartments. You have your own pool. There's a cafe at the lodge. We're staying at the Mount Albert Lodge. So there's a cafe at the lodge. And so it's very convenient. And then you're literally a block away from the Mount Albert shops where there's all kinds of cafes and restaurants and small shops. And Uli, maybe you want to say something. You've been in both places. You've lived
I
in
was just about to kick in. Yeah, so hi, my name is Uli. I'm at Whatcom Community College. And due to the generosity of Green River College and Bruce, I was able to visit both sites, not at the same time, a few years in between. But one thing you haven't really mentioned, it's summer over there. That's a big thing too.
True.
And the water is warm. You can actually go swimming without freezing to death. But like Bruce already said, the accommodations in Newman College, very nice. It's a beautiful setting, and it's nice that you have your own rooms. You just have to share a bathroom. I guess they painted some of those things because there's some new colors. I haven't seen that before when I was there. And then, of course, in Auckland, yes, you're really close to both Unitec University and to the train station to go downtown. There's this area of all the shops there you can get. It's less than 10 minutes walk away. And Bruce also normally gets a van over the weekend, right? Yeah, still going to do that to the shopping trips.
Right.
And I've noticed, no parents here, I guess. I've noticed when I went along on one of those shopping trips, most of the students bought wine and instant noodles. So maybe budget for a little bit more because otherwise it gets a little bit boring after a while. But it's a great program. Bruce is so connected to everybody, both in Auckland and Melbourne, and you'll have the time of your life, guaranteed.
Thanks, Uli.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So I found the pictures of the Mount Albert Lodge in Auckland. And Bruce, I don't know if you can tell as I scroll through, like if this is a one or two.
This is a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's the sitting room. You see the kitchen over on the left-hand side. This is the cafe that's at one corner of the lodge. And then this is at one of the 2-bedroom. One it has 2 twin beds in it. And then this is the pool and the apartments behind the pool, and then the lodge is off to the cafe is off to the right out of the picture. Yep. So one thing that we haven't talked about, and Uli mentioned it, it is summertime there. And so you'll be leaving Seattle in January, when it's January weather in Seattle, and you walk off the plane in Australia, and it will be the middle of summer. It will be like August here in the Pacific Northwest, but warmer and drier. And so what you want to do is you want to prepare for summer weather. Yeah, you as an experienced traveler, you'll learn you don't want to overpack, but you also want to be able to layer up and layer down because the weather's changeable. Melbourne is infamous for what they call the cool change. So it'll be in the 90s, maybe the low 100s, and then the cool change will come in, and 2 or 3 hours later, it'll be 75. It's like somebody turned on a giant air conditioner. So Melbourne, much more extremes in heat and cool. Auckland is very much like Seattle in the summer. It's generally 75 to 80 degrees. It cools down into the 60s at night. It's very much a marine environment, just like Seattle. So you'll be very comfortable in Auckland. In Melbourne, you'll need to be ready for some heat because it can get hot, but then the heat does not last long. So Melbourne is changing all the time. Auckland is kind of the steady, best Seattle summer you ever had kind of thing. So helpful to think about that. The other thing to think about, and I'm surprised none of you have asked this yet, how much spending money should I take? That's always an important consideration because you want to take some money so that you can do these independent travels. You'll also want to be able to do things on the weekend. You want to be able to go out in the evening. You want to go to movies. And in Melbourne, there's the best gelato you've ever tasted in the world is on Lygon Street, which is the old Italian section, which is 2 blocks away from where you're living at Newman College. So you want to think about what will I need for personal expenses, and that's something that's sort of individual to every person. But what I recommend is you think about in terms of U.S. dollars, and again. In New Zealand right now, the New Zealand dollar is 59 cents on the American dollar. So your money increases by 40% in New Zealand, and Australian dollar is 64 cents on the American dollar. So, you know, your American dollar goes quite a bit further in Australia and New Zealand than it does here. So if you're going to do independent travel, if you're going to go to Sydney and the Great Barrier Reef, and in New Zealand, you want to go to Queenstown or you want to go to Rotorua or something like that, you need to plan on sort of anywhere from $600 to $1,000 American to have an incredible travel week. And you can do it less expensive if you travel in a group, if you get an Airbnb, or if you book a group into a hostel, you know, 2 or 3 people or 5 or 6, whatever group you're comfortable traveling with, and you will make friends and you'll figure out who wants to do the same kind of things you want to do during travel week. You can maximize that. But then also you'll want just spending money. You want to go out in the evenings, you want to go out on weekends, you want to do some weekend tours. You might want to go to Hobbiton while you're in Auckland. It's only a couple hour drive away, and there's shuttle buses and tours that take you to Hobbiton. Same thing, Great Ocean Road, taking out to the Dandenong Mountains, or, you know, there's all kinds of tours that you can do in both Auckland and Melbourne. So you want to take some spending money. And again, I recommend anywhere from $600 to $1,000. So somewhere from $2,500 to $3,500, you can have a great time. If you can afford more, take more. If you can't take that much, you can still have a great time and just do it very frugally. You know, you just plan it out. But what you want to do is, and we'll work with you. Each week we'll sit down and we'll have a kind of budget session, if you will, and sort of, because what you don't want to do is get into Melbourne and spend all your money in the first 2 weeks, and then not have enough to do anything on your travel break or when you get to New Zealand. And so that's something we'll just do each week and just sort of touch base with you. How's your budgeting doing? Are you aware of what you're spending? Are you starting to plan your travel? And again, that's something we'll do with you in Australia. Sort of my philosophy is in Australia, we'll bring in some backpack travel planners to help you plan, to work with you, to develop your travel week plans, because a lot of students have never done that for themselves. Some have, and if you have, you have a leg up, but if you haven't, we'll sort of hold your hand, in effect, help you plan that travel when you're in Australia. And then when we get to New Zealand, we kind of kick you out the door, if you will. You've done it once. You're an experienced traveler. Now go out and plan your own trip in New Zealand. We're there to help. We're there to give advice. But again, when you come back to the United States, I want you to feel like, in my sense, one of my measures of success is I could take you anywhere in the world, drop you anywhere in a big city, and you'd be able to be safe, you'd be able to find a place to stay, you'd be able to find food to eat, and you'd be able to meet people. You know, that's what experienced travelers do. And so we're there to help you, but also to get you to where you can do it on your own. Yeah, Andreas.
I think Ulay had the hand first, so go ahead, Ulay.
Oh, I just wanted to mention another thing that happens while you are in Melbourne is the Australian Open are going on there.
Right.
That's
Yep.
a big sports event. And then it's also Australia Day while you are in Melbourne, which is even better. Really cool day and lots of celebrations and stuff. So great time to be in Melbourne for sure. And I should also mention, of course, it's also a really great college experience because it's hands-on learning. You're getting credits for your degree. It's not just fun, it's also some work involved. But it's a really nice environment for that kind of work.
It is. Thank you, Uli. Yeah. Andreas.
Thank you, Ulay. No, I thought it would be good to maybe talk a little bit more about safety. Like, what's your experience in, Australia and New Zealand, how safe it is? Yeah, maybe they'll be interested in knowing that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Australia, New Zealand, and Melbourne and Auckland, very safe places to be. There's very low levels, virtually no gun violence in either place. And also there's just a very different sort of cultural feel. Melbourne is a very European metro, sort of cosmopolitan city. You walk around Melbourne at 10, 11 o'clock at night and the streets are filled with people. A lot of people don't go out to eat until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So it's that very European kind of approach. And you can be virtually anywhere in Melbourne until, midnight, 1 o'clock, walking on the streets, and you will be perfectly safe. There are areas in every big city where you don't want to go late at night by yourself. And one of the things we really emphasize is always do things in groups, always do things with somebody else. Sort of nobody left behind. If you're out at a club, everybody goes together, everybody comes home together. It's just the way to be safe in any big city anywhere in the world. But the kind of random violence that you see in the United States, you just don't see at all. They have very different gun regulations. There are just no guns on the street to speak of. Even a lot of the police do not carry guns. So they're very safe cities. Auckland, we're sort of, if you think about Seattle, and Seattle University is right on the edge of downtown Seattle. In Melbourne, University of Melbourne is very much like Seattle U. It's right on the edge of downtown. In Auckland, it's more like UW. UW is a little bit away from downtown. It's 15, 20-minute bus ride or train ride downtown. So Auckland's very much like that. You're sort of in the western suburbs. Again, you're only 15, 20 minutes away from downtown, but it's not like Melbourne where you walk out the door and you walk for 5 minutes and you're downtown. In Auckland, you need to catch a bus, you need to catch a train, but you are in a suburban area with suburban shops, But again, both areas very, very safe, particularly compared to large American cities. Thank you, Andreas. Megan, anything else you can think of?
No, but I'm going to put a link.
You're muted.
Yeah, I'm going to put a link in the chat for the students who are here to check out our Google Earth tour. It's a fun interactive tool you can use and kind of click through the experience from start to finish with some examples and photos of different field trips that are often included in the program, and includes photos of actual students on our program, some photos of the accommodations, and campus and outdoor sites. So I definitely recommend you to check that out. If you're watching this recording, we'll try to post the link to the Google Earth tour on our website or you can email us at GRC Study Abroad to get a copy of the Google Earth tour, because it is customized just for you all.
Great.
And I would say, I guess my push is don't delay if you're thinking about applying, you know, do it sooner than later. Because we do have that minimum needed to enroll. We want to make sure we hit it easily without stressing anybody out and wondering if they should book their flight or not. So if you're thinking about it, you know, get on that preliminary application process soon, especially because you're required to submit 2 letters of recommendation, and it can take a while to gather those and get your references to submit them. So we don't want to put them under a time crunch either. So that's my advice.
Great. Good. Thank you, Megan. Patrick, anything to add?
I want to highlight what Megan just said. If you're asking your teachers for letters of recommendation, do it. Do it now. I say this as someone getting emails literally this morning, and I'm like, no, it's my summer break too, don't you know? But no, yeah, I can't wait for this. Can't wait to work with all of you, and I'm really excited.
Great. Good. And Uli and Jody, let us know if you'd like us to do a campus visit. We'll talk to
Please.
Uli. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I got 3 people already, so it would be nice if you can come up and meet them.
Sure. So let us know when Orca Day is going to be.
Yep,
We
yep.
If that's the best time to come up.
That's a good time for sure.
We plan
We'll
on
talk
that.
about it.
Thank you, Bruce. I'll try to reach out with some day options too, if you're able to come down to
Yeah,
Vancouver.
sure. Yeah, probably easier for me, Patrick, if you're available. It's great to do those trips, but you know, depends on when school starts and what your schedule is. But yeah, thanks, Jody. Be happy to come down.